Humans are one of the weakest large animals on Earth. A chimpanzee is stronger than you. A cheetah is faster than you. An eagle can see farther than you. A dolphin can navigate oceans better than you. By almost every measure, humans should have lost. So why didn't we? Out of millions of species that have lived on Earth, only one built cities. Only one wrote books. Only one walked on the moon. Only one looked up at the stars and wondered what they were. Only one is watching this video right now. Why us? Why not the chimpanzees? They share nearly 99% of our DNA. They use tools, they hunt together, they have politics, warfare, friendships, and family bonds. But they're not building rockets. They're not creating civilizations. They're not asking how the universe began. Why not the dolphins? They recognize themselves in mirrors. They communicate using unique signature calls. Some researchers believe they even have names for one another. But they're not writing symphonies. They're not building cities. They're not wondering what's beyond the horizon. Why not the octopuses? They can solve puzzles, escape locked containers, and change their entire appearance in seconds. They're so intelligent that some scientists have called them the closest thing to alien minds on Earth. But they live fast and die young. No time to build civilizations. No time to pass knowledge across generations. Something happened to humans. Something that happened to no other animal on this planet. Something turned a primate living in the forests of Africa into a species capable of splitting the atom and walking on the moon. Something transformed prey into the most dominant species Earth has ever seen. Something gave us the ability to ask questions no other animal seems to ask. Why? The official answer is evolution. Random mutations, natural selection, millions of years of change. And that's true, but it's not the whole story. Because there are mysteries, real mysteries, questions scientists still debate, questions hidden in fossils, DNA, and ancient bones, questions that become harder to ignore once you notice them. Like the dramatic growth of the human brain, a brain so large and energy-hungry that it shouldn't really exist. Like the fact that humans are strangely bad at surviving in the wild. Our backs hurt, our knees fail, our skin burns in the sun. Our babies are born helpless. For the most intelligent species on Earth, we're surprisingly fragile. Like the appearance of genetic changes linked to language and cognition. Changes that helped make us human, but whose full story we're still trying to understand. Or the Great Leap Forward. Around 70,000 years ago, humans suddenly began creating cave art, musical instruments, long-distance trade networks, complex rituals, symbols, stories. Culture exploded. Why then? Why not earlier? And yes, this is where the wild theories begin. Some people think aliens engineered us. Some think advanced beings altered our DNA. Some think humanity is the result of a forgotten intervention from beyond Earth. Most scientists reject those ideas. But the fact that people keep coming back to them tells you something. The mystery is real. Because the truth is, the real answer is even more fascinating than aliens. It's hidden in our evolution, our biology, and the unlikely chain of events that turned a vulnerable ape into the species that now dominates an entire planet. So let's go back millions of years and find out why humans are so different from every other animal on Earth. Before we figure out how humans became different from every other animal on Earth, we need to understand just how strange we really are. Because humans are weird, objectively, undeniably. We walk on two legs. That doesn't sound impressive until you realize almost no mammal does it full time. Kangaroos hop, gorillas knuckle walk, bears can stand upright for a few moments then drop back down. We just stand up and stroll around like it's completely normal. It's not. Walking on two legs is biomechanically ridiculous. Your spine is essentially a tower of bones balanced on top of itself. Nature took an animal designed to move on four limbs, forced it upright, and hoped for the best. And it shows. Back pain. It is one of the most common causes of disability on Earth. Then there's your brain. Your brain makes up only about 2% of your body weight, yet it consumes roughly 20% of your body's energy. That's an absurd amount of power for a single organ. A chimpanzee's brain uses roughly half that proportion. We literally traded strength for intelligence. Pound for pound, a chimpanzee is several times stronger than a human. Evolution made a deal. Less muscle, more brain. And that deal changed everything. Then there's language. Not sounds, not calls, not warning signals. Language. Real language. With grammar. Past tense, future tense, hypothetical situations. A monkey can make a sound that means snake. A human can say, "Remember that snake we saw near the river last week? Let's avoid that area tomorrow. Also, let me explain how venom works." That isn't just communication. It's information traveling through time. And that's one of the most powerful abilities evolution has ever produced. We create art. We compose music. We tell stories about people who never existed. We build monuments for people who died thousands of years ago. No other animal does anything remotely like this. A chimpanzee will never paint a portrait. An elephant will never compose a symphony. A dolphin will never write a novel. Humans live in two worlds, the physical world and the world inside our minds. A world made of stories, symbols, ideas, myths, laws, money, nations, religions, and dreams. And somehow, those invisible ideas became powerful enough to shape the entire planet. Then we did something even stranger. We invented science. We discovered that the Earth moves around the sun, even though our eyes tell us the opposite. We discovered everything around us is made of invisible atoms. Then we learned how to split them apart. We figured out the universe began nearly 14 billion years ago. We discovered black holes, galaxies, DNA, and we did all of that with a brain that originally evolved to find food and avoid predators. Think about how insane that is. The same organ that once worried about lions eventually figured out how stars work. And then there's perhaps the strangest thing of all, self-awareness. We don't just think, we know that we think. We can reflect on our own thoughts. We can imagine the future. We can imagine worlds that don't exist and then build them. We know that one day we will die. And somehow we keep going anyway. As far as we know, no other species spends its nights staring into the darkness, wondering why it exists. Humans do. We are made from elements forged inside dying stars, assembled by billions of years of evolution. And somehow those atoms became conscious enough to ask where they came from. Something made us this way. Something transformed an ordinary ape into something entirely different. And the story of how that happened is one of the greatest mysteries in science. The story begins in Africa. Not hundreds of thousands of years ago, millions. Long before cities, long before writing, long before anyone could have imagined rockets or computers. Our ancestors were not the kings of the planet. They were prey. Small, weak, slow, surrounded by animals that could outrun them, outfight them, and kill them. A leopard could climb better. A lion could fight better. A hyena could bite harder. Even a chimpanzee was stronger. So how did a vulnerable ape survive? The answer may have started with a simple change: standing up. At some point, our ancestors began spending more time on two legs. Not because it looked impressive, because it was useful. Standing upright allowed them to see farther across the grasslands. It helped them spot predators and find food. It also freed their hands. And free hands changed everything. Hands could carry food, carry children, carry tools. The oldest stone tools we have ever discovered are more than 3 million years old. Simple, crude, sharp rocks. But those rocks represented something new. For the first time, an animal was changing the world around it instead of simply adapting to it. A sharp stone could cut meat, break bones, scrape hides, and every generation could improve on what the last generation learned. That idea is important, because most animals learn. Humans accumulate knowledge. A chimpanzee can figure out how to use a stick, but it cannot teach that knowledge across thousands of generations. Humans can. Every generation starts where the previous one left off. Knowledge compounds, like interest in a bank account. And over enough time, small advantages become enormous ones. Then something happened that may have been even more important than tools. Fire. Fire provided warmth, protection, light, and perhaps most importantly, cooked food. Cooking changes food chemically. It makes calories easier to absorb, which meant more energy for a growing brain. And human brains were growing, slowly, then rapidly, until eventually they became the largest brains relative to body size of any great ape. And that created a new problem. Big brains are expensive. They consume enormous amounts of energy. For evolution to keep them, they had to provide an equally enormous advantage. And they did. Because a bigger brain allowed something extraordinary. Planning, cooperation, and imagination. Humans were no longer reacting only to the world in front of them. They could think about tomorrow, next season, next year, and eventually generations into the future. That ability would change the fate of our species. But it still doesn't explain everything. Tools alone don't explain civilization. Fire alone doesn't explain language. A larger brain alone doesn't explain art. Something else was coming. Something that would transform humans forever. And when it happened, the world would never be the same. Around 70,000 years ago, something changed. Not our bodies, not our muscles, not our bones, our minds. Scientists call it the cognitive revolution, and it may be the single most important event in human history. Before it, humans were just another animal. After it, we became something entirely different. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans had tools, fire, and growing brains. But then suddenly, the archaeological record changes. Cave paintings appear, jewelry appears, musical instruments appear, complex rituals appear, long-distance trade appears, symbols appear, stories appear, culture explodes. The question is, why? Why then? Why not 100,000 years earlier? Nobody knows for sure, but many scientists believe the answer was language. Not simple communication, true language, the ability to describe things that do not exist. Think about that. A human can describe a lion that isn't there, a lion that was seen yesterday, a lion that might appear tomorrow, or a lion that exists only in a story. That changes everything. Because once humans could share imagined realities, they could cooperate in ways no other animal could. Thousands, millions, even billions of strangers can work together because they believe in the same ideas. Money is an idea. Nations are ideas. Laws are ideas. Religions are ideas. Companies are ideas. None of them physically exist, yet they shape the lives of billions. A chimpanzee can cooperate with a few dozen individuals. Humans can cooperate with millions. And that became our superpower. Not strength, not speed, not claws, not teeth. Shared imagination. Once humans mastered that, the rest happened surprisingly fast. Agriculture, cities, kingdoms, empires, writing, mathematics, science, industry, electricity, computers, the internet, and eventually, spaceflight. The same species that once hid from predators in Africa walked on the moon. The same species that once feared the darkness learned what stars are made of. The same species that once struggled to survive another day began asking questions about the origin of the universe. And that's the real answer. Humans are not special because we are the strongest. We're not. We're not the fastest. We're not. We're not the toughest. We're definitely not. Humans became dominant because we learned how to share knowledge. Across generations, across continents, across thousands of years. Every child inherits the discoveries of countless people who came before them. Knowledge accumulates. Ideas evolve. Civilization grows. And each generation starts higher than the last. That is what happened to us. Not aliens, not magic, not destiny. A chain of unlikely evolutionary events. A bigger brain, language, cooperation, culture, and millions of years of accumulated knowledge. That's what transformed an ordinary ape into a species capable of understanding atoms, galaxies, DNA, and itself. The greatest mystery was never whether humans were different. The mystery was how. Now you know. And perhaps the strangest part of all, the story isn't over, because the next stage of human evolution may be happening right now.